Rain fell like broken glass against the marble steps of the cypress crypt. Zola Vance stood at the edge of her mother's grave, 7 months pregnant, gripping the side of the stone crypt to keep from collapsing. The sky pressed down on Viridia Bay, suffocating the horizon, swallowing the light. Black umbrellas dotted the cemetery like crows perched over a kill. She couldn't breathe. Her mother, Lenora Vance, was being lowered into the earth. The woman who taught her to walk, to think, to survive. Gone. And Zola was alone with a child growing inside her and a husband who hadn't looked at her once since they arrived. Reverend Elias's voice drifted through the fog. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But Zola wasn't listening. She was watching Siwen. Her husband stood 3 feet away, arms folded, jaw locked. His expression was stone. No grief, no words, just cold calculation, the kind that made her stomach twist even before she understood why. Behind him, Saskia Moon lingered at the edge of the gathering. Red-rimmed eyes, trembling chin, perfectly staged vulnerability. Zola had seen that face before, on magazine covers, lifestyle vlogs, influencer reels. But here, at her mother's funeral, something was wrong. Siwen reached into his coat. Zola expected a handkerchief. Maybe comfort. Maybe the man she married 2 years ago would finally remember she existed. Instead, he pulled out a manila envelope. Her heart stopped. Zola. His voice cut through the prayer like a blade. The Reverend faltered mid-sentence. Heads turned. Whispers rippled through the mourners. What? Her voice cracked. What is that? He extended the envelope toward her, expressionless. Divorce papers. The words landed like a gunshot. Time fractured. The rain seemed louder. The fog thicker. Her knees buckled, but she caught herself against the crypt. Her baby kicked inside her, a small, desperate flutter. Here, she whispered. Now, sign them. Laughter bubbled up in her throat, hysterical, broken. You're joking. I'm not. Behind him, Saskia pressed a hand to her stomach. A performance. A claim. Lady Matara, Siwen's mother, stood near the iron gates, lips curved into something between satisfaction and disgust. Grandmaster Ryu watched from the shadows, hands clasped behind his back like an executioner waiting for the sentence to land. My mother is being buried, Zola said, voice shaking. Right now, in front of us. This marriage is over. Siwen's tone was mechanical. Rehearsed. You'll survive. You're stronger than you think. She stared at him, at the man who promised her forever, at the man who held her the night she told him she was pregnant, at the stranger standing in his place. The envelope hung between them. Have you ever been humiliated in front of everyone you know? Felt the eyes, the judgment, the whispers crawling over your skin like insects? Zola felt all of it, and in that moment, she understood. She wasn't his wife. She was disposable. Her hand shook as she took the envelope. She didn't read it, didn't argue. Shock paralyzed her more than grief ever could. She signed, right there, at the graveside, while her mother's casket descended into the earth. The crowd gasped. Cameras flashed. Someone always had a phone ready for scandal. Saskia Moon let out a small, victorious exhale. Lady Matara turned away, satisfied. Grandmaster Ryu nodded once. And Siwen? He took the papers, folded them back into his coat, and walked away. No wudbye, no explanation, just rain and silence and the hollow scrape of dirt hitting wood. Zola collapsed into the arms of a stranger, a nurse from the hospital who happened to be standing nearby. The woman held her as sobs tore through her chest, raw and animal. Breathe, the nurse whispered. Just breathe. But Zola couldn't, because the man she loved just destroyed her at the one moment she needed him most. And somewhere beneath the earth, inside a hidden drawer in Lenora Vance's study, a letter waited. A letter that would change everything. But Zola didn't know that yet. Right now, she only knew betrayal. What happens when the people you trust shatter you in public? Subscribe so you're never blindsided. The Ryu Citadel didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a mausoleum. Zola stood in the marble foyer, suitcase in hand, staring at the dragon-carved steel gates that once made her feel protected. Now, they felt like prison bars. 3 days since the funeral. 3 days since her life shattered in front of 200 witnesses. And now, she had to pack her things and disappear like she never existed. She climbed the spiral staircase toward the bedroom she shared with Sywin. Each step echoed. The house was silent except for the whisper of her own breathing. Inside their room, everything looked untouched. His cologne still sat on the dresser. Her maternity clothes hung in the closet. The bed was made cold, lifeless. She opened a drawer and began folding clothes. Stop! Zola froze. Lady Matara stood in the doorway, draped in silk, arms crossed. Her expression was ice carved into flesh. That belongs to the Ryu family. Zola blinked. This is my sweater, purchased with Ryu money. Leave it. Heat flushed through Zola's chest. You can't be serious. Deadly serious. Lady Matara stepped inside, heels clicking against marble. You were a guest here. Guests don't take what isn't theirs. Zola's hands trembled. I'm carrying your grandchild. Are you? Lady Matara tilted her head, lips curling. Or are you carrying leverage? The accusation hit like a slap. Would you stay silent if someone questioned your child's existence? Zola wanted to scream, to throw something, to demand dignity. But exhaustion weighed her down like chains. She dropped the sweater back into the drawer. Fiend. She grabbed only what she came with, a single suitcase of clothes from before the marriage. Everything else stayed. Jewelry, gifts, memories, all of it abandoned. Downstairs, Grandmaster Ryu waited near the entrance. Hands behind his back, face unreadable. Ms. Vance. Not daughter-in-law, not Zola. Ms. Vance. Grandmaster. She kept her voice steady. You were always temporary, he said, voice flat. We needed an heir. Sywin made a miscalculation. That's been corrected. Her throat tightened. I'm still having his child. Prove it's his. The words gutted her. She stared at the man who toasted at her wedding, who smiled when she announced her pregnancy, who welcomed her into the family with open arms. All of it performance. She said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Zola walked out of the Citadel and never looked back. Her mother's townhouse smelled like lavender and dust. It was small, modest, nothing like the Citadel's cold grandeur. But it was hers, the only place left that held Lenora's warmth. Zola collapsed onto the couch, suitcase abandoned by the door. Her phone buzzed, text from block numbers, missed calls from Sywin's sister, Mina. She knew what Mina was doing, spreading poison through Viridia Bay's elite circles, painting Zola as unstable, manipulative, a gold digger who trapped Sywin into marriage. The lies would spread faster than truth ever could. Zola turned off her phone. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded ultrasound photo. Nuri's tiny form floating in black and white. A heartbeat captured in still image. Her daughter, her reason to survive. I'll protect you, she whispered, even if I have to burn the world down to do it. Outside, rain began to fall again. And inside the townhouse, in a study she hadn't opened yet, a hidden drawer waited. A drawer that held the answer to everything. But tonight, Zola only knew pain. Zola found it on the fifth day. The study had been locked since her mother's death. She'd avoided it. Too painful, too raw. But grief has a way of pulling you toward the places that hurt most. She stood in the doorway, hand on the knob, breathing in the faint scent of jasmine perfume and old books. Lenora's presence lived here, in the leather chair, in the neatly stacked notebooks, in a framed photograph of the two of them at Zola's graduation. She stepped inside. The desk was immaculate, organized, everything in its place, exactly as her mother left it. Zola ran her fingers across the mahogany surface, tears blurring her vision. She opened the top drawer, pens, paper clips, business cards from event planning clients. Nothing unusual. She tried the second drawer. Locked. Her breath caught. Why would her mother lock a desk drawer in her own home? Zola searched for a key, checked under the desk mat, inside the pen holder beneath the lamp. Nothing. Frustration boiled over. She yanked the drawer hard, once, twice, until the old lock splintered and gave way. Inside, a single envelope, cream-colored, sealed with red wax. Her name written in Lenora's elegant script. For Zola, only when they try to break you. Her hands trembled. How did her mother know? She tore it open. The letter was short, direct, written in Lenora's precise handwriting. My darling girl, if you're reading this, then someone has hurt you in ways I prayed you'd never experience. But I prepared for this day. Go to the Gilded Vault and Trust on Crescent Avenue. Ask for Alistair Thorne. He's expecting you. Sovereign Seal account, 777. Everything I built, every sacrifice, every late night, every calculated decision was for you. They will regret underestimating you. Use this wisely. Use it patiently. You are stronger than you know. Mother. Zola read it 3 times. Sovereign Seal account. The Gilded Vault and Trust was the most exclusive private bank in Viridia Bay. The kind of place where old money whispered and new money couldn't enter. What was her mother doing there? A memory surfaced. Zola, 16 years old, sitting at this very desk while Lenora reviewed financial documents. Mother, why do you always work so late? Lenora looked up, smiled. Because power is quiet, darling. Wealth is quieter. I don't understand. You will. Lenora closed the ledger, leaned forward. One day, someone will try to take everything from you. When that day comes, remember, those who underestimate you have already lost. Zola thought it was just advice, philosophical wisdom from a cautious woman. But it wasn't advice. It was a warning. Her mother knew. Somehow, Lenora predicted this exact betrayal, built something in preparation, left breadcrumbs for the moment Zola's world collapsed. She stared at the letter, heart racing. Have you ever discovered something that changed your entire understanding of someone you loved? Zola's grief shifted, transformed, became something sharper. Her mother wasn't just an event planner. She was a strategist. And tomorrow, Zola would find out what she'd been planning for 30 years. She folded the letter carefully, pressed it against her chest. Thank you, she whispered into the empty room. Outside, thunder rumbled, and Zola Vance became something she'd never been before. Dangerous. Some secrets protect you before you even know you're in danger. The Gilded Vault and Trust didn't advertise. It didn't need to. Tucked into Crescent Avenue behind unmarked granite doors, it existed only for those who already knew. Old wealth, silent empires, the kind of money that never made headlines because it owned the people who wrote them. Zola stood outside, staring at the bronze plaque, EST 1892. Her mother banked here? She pushed through the doors. Inside, the air smelled like leather and aged mahogany. Chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. A receptionist in tailored black looked up, expression neutral. Name: Zola Vance. I'm here for Alastair Thorne. The receptionist's demeanor shifted instantly. Of course, Ms. Vance. He's been expecting you. Expecting her? Before she could process, a door opened. A man in his late 50s emerged. Silver hair, sharp suit, eyes that missed nothing. Ms. Vance. He extended a hand. Alastair Thorne, your mother was a dear friend. I'm so sorry for your loss. His grip was firm, respectful, but there was something else in his gaze, relief. Thank you, Zola said carefully. Your name was in her letter. She prepared extensively for this meeting. He gestured toward the hallway. Please, follow me. They descended into a private vault level. Marble floors, temperature-controlled chambers. Security so discreet it was invisible. Alastair stopped at a steel door marked 777. He turned to her. Before we go inside, I need to prepare you. What you're about to see will reshape everything you thought you knew about your mother. Zola's pulse quickened. I'm ready. He unlocked the door. Inside was a room filled with filing cabinets, leather ledgers, and a glass table covered in documents. A woman stood near the window, early 40s, elegant, radiating controlled precision. Zola Vance, Alastair said, meet Dr. Ilara Reed, your mother's financial advisor for 20 years. Ilara extended her hand. She spoke of you often, with pride, with preparation. Zola shook it, mind spinning. What is all this? Ilara gestured to the table. Your inheritance. She laid out the documents one by one. Deeds, properties in Monaco, New Orleans, Viridia Bay, equity stakes in tech startups, trust accounts, investment portfolios, ledgers detailing 3 decades of calculated acquisitions. This is, Zola's voice faltered. How much? $700 million, Ilara said quietly. Give or take market fluctuations. The room tilted. Zola gripped the edge of the table. That's impossible. My mother was an event planner. That was her cover, Alastair said gently. Lenora Vance was one of the most brilliant shadow investors I've ever encountered. She started with nothing, built this empire in silence, and structured it so that the moment you needed it most, it would activate. What would you do if you discovered your parent had been protecting you your entire life without you knowing? Zola stared at the documents. Her mother's handwriting appeared in margins, notes, calculations, projections, evidence of a woman who saw the future and prepared accordingly. Why didn't she tell me? Because, Ilara said, if you knew, you might have acted differently, made different choices, married differently. The implication landed. Lenora knew Cywin would betray her, or at least she knew someone would. Alastair handed her another envelope. She left this, her final letter. Zola's hands shook as she opened it. My darling Zola, if you're reading this, then my worst fear came true. Someone tried to destroy you. I was betrayed once. At 25, by a man I loved, by a family I trusted. They took everything, my dignity, my safety, my future. I rebuilt in shadows. I learned patience, strategy, silence. This empire wasn't built for luxury. It was built for war. The day someone humiliates you, dismisses you, discards you, that's the day you become untouchable. You're not broken, my love. You are armed. Stand up. Rise slowly. Let them think you're defeated. Then remind them who your mother was. Lenora. Tears blurred Zola's vision. Her mother didn't just leave her money. She left her a weapon. Alastair leaned forward. What would you like to do first? Zola wiped her eyes, straightened her spine. looked at the documents spread before her. I want them to regret ever knowing my name. Alara smiled. Then let's begin. When betrayal strikes, will you collapse or calculate your next move? The mansion cost $12 million. Zola bought it in cash. The Zenith Plateau sat above Viridia Bay like a crown. White stone estates, private gates, ocean views that stretched into infinity. The kind of neighborhood where senators lived next to CEOs and everyone pretended not to notice each other's scandals. Zola's new home was smaller than the others. Elegant. 3 stories of glass and light, wrapped in ivy and iron balconies. It came furnished, quiet, and most importantly, hers alone. She stood on a master balcony, watching the city below. Somewhere down there, the Ryu Citadel loomed. Cywin paced inside his cold marble prison. Lady Matara schemed. Grandmaster Ryu calculated. Let them. They thought she was hiding, grieving, broken. They had no idea she was preparing. Her phone buzzed. A blocked number. Again. Cywin. He'd been calling for 2 days straight. 17 missed calls. 6 voicemails she deleted without listening. Texts that piled up unread. She blocked him. Again. If he wanted to talk, he could hire a lawyer. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Alistair had mentioned someone would be stopping by. A connection of Lenora's. Someone who owed her mother a debt. Zola opened the door. A man stood there. Early 30s, sharp features, designer jacket over a faded band shirt. His eyes were bright, restless, the kind that saw problems as puzzles. Zola Vance. Yes. He extended a hand. Isao Kimura. Your mother saved my startup 5 years ago when every investor in this city laughed me out of their offices. I owe her everything. Zola shook his hand, studying him. You're the tech entrepreneur. Guilty. He grinned. Alara told me you might need an ally. Someone outside the old money circles. Someone the Ryu family can't touch. Why would you help me? Because Lenora believed in people before they believed in themselves. His expression softened. And because taking down a corrupt dynasty sounds like the most interesting thing I'll do this year. Zola almost smiled. You're dangerous. Only to people who deserve it. She let him inside. Over tea, Isao explained his network. Tech founders, venture capitalists, media contacts who owed him favors. He laid out a plan. Quiet investments, strategic partnerships, public goodwill campaigns. They'll try to bury you with rumors, he said. We'll counter with facts. Donations. Visibility. Make you impossible to ignore. And if they come after you, he shrugged. Let them try. I've survived worse than the Ryu Syndicate. Would you trust a stranger who promises to fight your battles alongside you? Zola wanted to, needed to, but trust was expensive now. Still, something in Isao's eyes reminded her of her mother, that quiet certainty, that refusal to bend. Okay, she said. Let's begin. Later that night, Zola scrolled through her phone. A notification appeared. Saskia Moon's social media. A photo. Staged. Perfect Lily. Saskia, hand on stomach, caption. New beginnings. Blessed beyond measure. Comments flooded in. Congratulations. Support. Speculation. Zola stared at the image. Saskia was claiming Cywin's child. Publicly. Boldly. Zola set her phone down. She didn't respond. Didn't react. Didn't engage. Because her mother taught her better. Power is quiet, she whispered. Wealth is quieter. And revenge? Revenge was silent until it wasn't. They wanted her gone. Now, they'll never forget her. The press release went live at 9 a.m. Anonymous benefactor donates $3 million to Lyra Foundation Hospital. By noon, Every news outlet in Viridia Bay was running the story. By evening, they had her name, Zola Vance. She sat in her study, watching the media frenzy unfold on her laptop. Reporters scrambled. Social media erupted. The Solstice Journal, Viridia Bay's most prestigious publication, requested an exclusive interview. Hilaire called. "You're trending. Top 5 in the city. Good. The Ryu family will notice. I'm counting on it." Zola hung up and poured herself tea. Her hands were steady now, purposeful. The grief that once consumed her had transformed into something sharper. Focus. The donation wasn't charity. It was a declaration. Across town, inside the Ryu Citadel, Mina Ryu scrolled through her phone, face pale. "Mother, you need to see this." Lady Matara snatched the device. Her eyes scanned the headline, then narrowed. $3 million? Where did she get? "I don't know." Mina's voice trembled. "But everyone's talking about her. They're calling her a mysterious heiress, a philanthropic force." Lady Matara's jaw tightened. "This is a problem." She found Grandmaster Ryu in his study, smoke curling from his cigar. "The Vance woman is making moves," she said coldly. "Significant ones." Grandmaster Ryu didn't look up from his paperwork. "She's grieving. Let her waste her savings." $3 million isn't savings. It's strategy. That got his attention. He set down his pen. Find out where the money came from. Discreetly. And if she has more? His silence answered everything. Alistair Thorne arrived at Zola's mansion that evening with a briefcase full of documents. "The Ryu family tried accessing your financial records," he said, settling into her living room. "I blocked them. Legally. Permanently. They're panicking. They should be." Alistair opened a briefcase. "Your mother structured everything so they can't touch a single asset. Every trust is ironclad. Every property protected." Zola leaned back. "What's next?" "Visibility. Legitimacy. Influence." He slid a folder across the table. "Isao wants to announce a partnership. Something public. Something that positions you as untouchable." She opened the folder. Inside, a proposal for a joint tech venture, Vance Kimura Innovations. Her mother's legacy. Isao's network. A collaboration that would make headlines. When? 2 weeks. Press conference. Media coverage. Full exposure. Zola smiled. Perfect. That night, Sywin sat alone in his Citadel bedroom, staring at his phone. 17 unanswered calls. 32 unread texts. All blocked. He opened a news article. Zola Vance emerges as Viridia Bay's newest philanthropist. The photo showed her at the hospital, elegant, composed, smiling beside the hospital director. She looked radiant. Powerful. Nothing like the woman he destroyed at the funeral. His chest tightened. What had he done? His mother's voice echoed from the hallway. "Stop sulking. You made the right choice. Saskia carries your heir. That's what matters." But Sywin wasn't sure anymore, because the woman he discarded was rising, and he was the one who gave her the reason. Labor started at 3 a.m. Zola woke to pain so sharp it stole her breath. She gripped the bedpost, gasping, counting seconds between contractions. 5 minutes apart. She called a car. No family. No husband. No one to hold her hand or tell her it would be okay. Just her and the daughter she'd been carrying alone for 8 months. The driver helped her into the vehicle, eyes wide with panic. Hospital, Lyra Foundation. The city blurred past. Streetlights. Empty roads. Rain beginning to fall again. It always rained in this city, as if the sky wept for those below. Zola breathed through another contraction. Her mother's voice whispered in her memory. You are stronger than you know. She had to be. The Lyra Foundation hospital staff moved with calm efficiency. Nurses guided her to a private suite, the same wing her donation had funded. A doctor appeared, kind-eyed, steady hands. Ms. Vance, I'm Dr. Patel. We're going to take excellent care of you. Thank you, Zola whispered. Hours blurred. Pain, breathing, pressure, the primal, terrifying process of bringing life into a world that had tried to break her. She thought of Siwan, the man who should be here, the man who chose cruelty over compassion. She thought of her mother, the woman who prepared for this exact moment, even her absence. And she thought of Nuri, the daughter who would inherit empires, the daughter who would never know abandonment, the daughter Zola would protect with everything Lenora built. Push, Dr. Patel urged. Zola pushed. At 11:47 a.m., Nuri Vance entered the world. 6 pounds, 4 ounces. Perfect. They placed her on Zola's chest. Warm, wet, screaming with fierce, beautiful life. Zola sobbed. Not from pain, not from exhaustion, from relief, from love so overwhelming it rewrote everything she thought she knew about herself. Hello, baby girl, she whispered. I'm your mother, and I promise you, no one will ever hurt you the way they hurt me. Nuri's tiny fingers wrapped around Zola's thumb. A vow, a bond, a future. Have you ever held something so precious you'd burn the world down to protect it? News traveled fast in Viridia Bay. By evening, the hospital staff, bound by confidentiality but human nonetheless, whispered. Word reached the Zenith Plateau social circles. Then the media. Then the Ryu Citadel. Mina Ryu called her brother. She had the baby, a girl. Siwan's heart stopped when, this morning, alone, at Lyra Foundation, alone, the word gutted him. He grabbed his keys, ignored his mother's protests, and drove through rain-slicked streets to the hospital. Security stopped him at the entrance to the maternity wing. I'm her husband, Siwan said. The guard checked his tablet. You're listed as restricted. No access. That's my daughter. Ms. Vance's instructions were explicit. No exceptions. Siwan stared past the guard, down the hallway, toward the room where Zola and his child waited. He wanted to fight, to demand, to force his way through, but he lost that right, at a funeral, in front of everyone. So he stood there, helpless, watching through the glass partition. Inside, Zola sat upright in bed, Nuri cradled against her chest. A nurse hovered nearby, supportive, protective. Zola looked up. Their eyes met through the glass. Hers were cold, resolute, unyielding. She turned away, dismissed him without a word. Siwan pressed his palm against the glass, watching his daughter, a stranger to him already. The nurse closed the blinds, and Siwan Ryu understood, for the first time, what he'd truly lost. Zola adjusted Nuri's blanket, kissed her forehead. You're a Vance, she whispered. That name means something. It means survival, strategy, strength. Nuri yawned, tiny fist curling near her face. Outside, rain hammered against the windows. Inside, mother and daughter rested. 2 lives intertwined, 2 futures waiting. And somewhere in the city, a syndicate began to realize they'd made a catastrophic mistake. Betrayal at your lowest, victory at your strongest. Subscribe before you miss what happens next. Grandmaster Ryu didn't panic. He calculated. And right now, the numbers weren't adding up. He sat in his private office, fingers steepled, staring at the dossier Mina had compiled on Zola Vance. $3 million donation. New residents in the Zenith Plateau. Partnership rumors with Isao Kimura. one of the city's most influential tech entrepreneurs. "Where did you get this money?" he asked flatly. Lady Matara paced near the window. Her mother was an event planner. There's no inheritance on record. Nothing that justifies this level of spending. Then find out what we missed. Mina spoke up from the corner. Alistair Thorne blocked our inquiry. Legally, he's representing her. Grandmaster Ryu's jaw tightened. Alistair Thorne only represented one type of client, the untouchable kind. He turned to Cywin, who sat silent, hollow-eyed. "Fix this." Cywin looked up. "Fix what?" "Your mistake." Grandmaster Ryu's voice was ice. "Before she becomes more powerful than us. She just had our child, a child you have no access to." Lady Matara cut in. "A child she's using as leverage. You think this is about motherhood? She's building something. And if we don't act now, she'll destroy everything we've built." Cywin's fist clenched. "What do you want me to do? Win her back? Apologize? Grovel? I don't care." Grandmaster Ryu leaned forward. "But if you can't control your wife, then you're useless to this family." "Ex-wife," Cywin wanted to say, but the words stuck in his throat. Across town, Saskia Moon sat in her luxury apartment, scrolling through comments on her pregnancy announcement. Thousands of congratulations. Speculation about the father. Questions about her due date. Her phone buzzed. Lady Matara. She answered immediately. "Yes. We need to meet. Tonight. Is something wrong?" Silence. Then, "Just be at the Citadel in an hour." The line went dead. Saskia stared at her phone, unease creeping up her spine. She'd been so careful. The fake ultrasound, the staged photos, the carefully timed announcement. But lies had a way of collapsing when pressure increased. And pressure was mounting. Zola met Isao at a rooftop cafe overlooking the bay. He slid a tablet across the table. "The press conference is set. 2 weeks. Prime coverage. We'll announce the partnership, position you as a visionary investor, and make it clear you're not going anywhere." Zola studied the presentation. Clean, professional, strategic. The Ryu family will retaliate. Let them. Isao grinned. They operate in shadows. We're bringing you into the light. Public figures are harder to destroy. She considered this. Her mother's words echoed. Use it wisely. Use it patiently. Patience meant timing, and the timing was almost right. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." That evening, Zola returned to her mother's townhouse to collect the last of Lenore's journals. She needed them, needed her mother's voice, her wisdom. She was inside for less than 10 minutes when a knock rattled the door. She froze, looked through the peephole. Cywin. He stood on her porch, rain-soaked, desperate. Her heart lurched, not with love, but with anger. How dare he come here? She didn't open the door. Instead, she pressed the intercom. "Leave." His voice crackled through. "Zola, please. I need to talk to you. You had your chance to talk. On my mother's funeral. Remember? I made a mistake. Goodbye, Cywin." She turned off the intercom. He pounded on the door. "Zola, please. Just 5 minutes." She stood silent on the other side, hand pressed against the wood, listening to him beg. And for the first time since the funeral, she felt something shift. Not forgiveness. Power. He needed her now, and she didn't need him at all. Cywin Ryu had never begged for anything in his life. Until tonight. He stood on Zola's porch, rain dripping from his hair, fist raised to knock again. The intercom had gone silent. The lights inside dimmed, but he knew she was there, listening, judging, hating him. "Zola." His voice broke. "I know you have every right to shut me out, but I need you to hear me. Just once." Silence. He pressed his forehead against the door. "I was manipulated. My family, they pressured me. Zaskialit. I didn't know. The intercom crackled to life. You didn't know? Zola's voice was cold, surgical. You didn't know that humiliating me at my mother's funeral was wrong? You needed someone to tell you that. I wasn't thinking clearly. You thought perfectly clearly. Her words cut like glass. You calculated. You chose. You handed me divorce papers while my mother was being lowered into the ground. Sywin flinched. I regret it. Every second of it. Regret doesn't undo damage. I want to be part of Nuri's life. You should have thought about that before you discarded her mother like trash. He slammed his palm against the door. I'm her father, biologically. That's all. The intercom went silent again. Sywin stood there, chest heaving, rage and grief warring inside him. He wanted to break down the door, demand she listen, force her to see his pain. But he couldn't, because she was right. He destroyed everything, and no amount of begging would rebuild it. Would you forgive someone who shattered you at your lowest point? He stepped back from the door, turned, and walked toward his car. Inside the townhouse, Zola watched him through the window. She saw his shoulders slump, saw him pause at his car, head bowed, defeated. Part of her, small, stupid, sentimental, wanted to open the door. But a larger part remembered the manila envelope, the crowd watching, the rain mixing with her tears, the way he walked away without looking back. She closed the curtain. Flashback, 2 years earlier, their wedding day. Zola stood at the altar in a white gown that took her breath away. Sywin held her hands, eyes soft, voice steady as he recited vows. I promise to protect you, to honor you, to stand beside you through every storm. She believed him. God, she believed him. The crowd clapped. Lenora wiped tears from her eyes. Even Grandmaster Ryu nodded approval. It felt like forever. It felt like safety. But promises made in sunlight shatter easily in rain. Present. Zola sat on the couch, Nuri asleep in her arms, and let herself cry. Not for Sywin, for the version of herself who trusted too easily, who loved too deeply, who thought marriage meant partnership instead of transaction. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone sharper, colder, prepared. She wiped her tears, kissed Nuri's forehead. Your father chose his family's approval over us, she whispered. Remember that, because I'll never let him forget. Outside, Sywin sat in his car, staring at the townhouse. He pulled out his phone, scrolled to a message he'd typed but never sent. I'm sorry. I love you. I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. His thumb hovered over the send button. Then he deleted it, because words meant nothing now, and Zola had made that abundantly clear. He drove away, headlights cutting through rain, leaving behind the only woman who ever saw past the Ryu name and loved the man beneath. The man he'd buried the moment he chose duty over devotion. The medical records arrived anonymously. Mina Ryu opened the email at midnight, curiosity overriding caution. Inside, scanned documents from Viridia General Hospital, dated 3 months prior. Patient name, Saskia Moon. Diagnosis, negative pregnancy test. Confirmed non-pregnant. Mina's blood went cold. She read it twice, 3 times, then printed every page and marched to her brother's room. She kicked open his door. Sywin jerked awake. What the? She threw the papers at him. Read. He fumbled for his lamp, squinting at the documents. His face drained of color. No, he whispered. Yes. Mina's voice shook with fury. Zaskialit. She was never pregnant. Not 3 months ago. Not now. Not ever. Sywin stared at the papers, hands trembling. Everything. The divorce, the humiliation, the destroyed marriage, built on a lie. I need to talk to her. You need to tell mother and grandfather. Not yet. Siwon grabbed his jacket. Let me confirm this first. He drove to Saskia's apartment, took the elevator to the penthouse, and pounded on her door. No answer. He pounded again. Saskia, open the door. Silence. He called her phone. Voicemail. Tried again. Blocked. Panic set in. He went to the building manager, flashed his Ryu credentials, demanded entry. The manager hesitated, then complied. They opened her apartment. Empty. Furniture remained, but clothes were gone. Toiletries cleared. Closets stripped. She'd fled. Siwon stood in the middle of the empty living room, the weight of his mistakes crushing him. He divorced Zola, his wife, the mother of his child, for a woman who manipulated him with a fabricated pregnancy. He destroyed his family for a lie. Lady Matara received the news with terrifying calm. She sat in the Citadel's drawing room, fingers tapping the armrest, eyes fixed on the medical records Mina had delivered. "Where is she?" she asked quietly. "Gone," Mina said. Disappeared. Phone disconnected. Apartment cleared. Grandmaster Ryu entered, cigar smoke trailing behind him. "What's going on?" Lady Matara handed him the documents. He read them in silence, then crushed his cigar into an ashtray. "Find her. We've tried. I don't care." His voice was lethal. "Find her. Quietly. And make sure this never reaches the media." But they were too late, because someone had already sent the documents to Zola. Zola sat in her study, reading the email that had appeared in her inbox an hour ago. Subject line: "Thought you should know." No sender name, just an attachment. Saskia Moon's medical records. Proof of the lie. Evidence of the manipulation. She leaned back in her chair, mind racing. Who sent this? Someone inside the Ryu family? A disgruntled employee? Arrival Syndicate. It didn't matter. What mattered was what she'd do with it. Alistair's voice echoed in her memory. Timing is everything. She forwarded the email to him with a single line. "Hold this. We'll use it when the moment is right." Then she closed her laptop and walked to the nursery. Nuri slept peacefully, tiny chest rising and falling. Zola watched her daughter, heart swelling with protective fury. Siwon destroyed their marriage for a lie. The Ryu family humiliated her for nothing. Saskia Moon played a dangerous game and lost. And Zola? Zola held all the cards now. She kissed Nuri's forehead. "Your father's world is about to collapse, baby girl, and we're going to watch from a distance." Across town, Siwon sat alone in his car outside Saskia's abandoned apartment. He dialed Zola's number. Blocked. He tried again. Still blocked. He wanted to scream, to beg, to undo every choice that led him here. But the past was immovable, and Zola was untouchable. He rested his head against the steering wheel and finally allowed himself to break. Because the woman he loved was gone. The child he wanted was unreachable, and the lie he believed had destroyed everything. The press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. By 9:30, the Zenith Heights Convention Center overflowed with journalists. Cameras lined the back wall. Reporters clutched tablets and recorders. The Solstice Journal secured front row seats. Even international tech publications sent representatives. Everyone wanted to know, who was Zola Vance? Backstage, Isao adjusted his jacket and grinned at Zola. Nervous? Terrified? Good. Fear means it matters. He handed her a bottle of water. Remember, you're not explaining yourself. You're introducing yourself. Big difference. She nodded, smoothing her tailored navy suit. Simple, elegant, powerful. Alara appeared with last-minute briefing notes. The Ryu family is watching. Guaranteed. So is every business rival they've ever made. This announcement will shift the power structure in this city. Then let's shift it, Zola said. The stage manager signaled. 2 minutes. Zola walked to the curtain, inhaled deeply, and stepped into the light. The room hushed. She approached the podium, Isao beside her, and gazed at the sea of faces. Cameras flashed. Recording lights blinked red. "Good morning," she began, voice steady. "My name is Zola Vance, and today I'm honored to announce the launch of Vance Kimura Innovations." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Isao took the mic. "This partnership merges legacy capital with cutting-edge technology. We're investing in sustainable infrastructure, AI-driven healthcare solutions, and educational platforms for underserved communities." He gestured to Zola. "Ms. Vance brings vision, strategic insight, and a commitment to building systems that serve people, not exploit them." Zola leaned into the microphone. "My mother taught me that wealth without purpose is meaningless. So we're creating something that matters, something that lasts." A reporter raised her hand. "Ms. Vance, you recently donated $3 million to Lyra Foundation Hospital. Where does your wealth come from?" Zola smiled. "My mother, Lenora Vance, spent 30 years building a financial empire in silence. She believed power should be quiet. I'm simply continuing her legacy." Another reporter. "There are rumors connecting you to the Ryu Syndicate. Can you comment?" The room tensed. Zola's expression didn't falter. "I was briefly married into that family. That chapter is closed. My focus now is forward, on innovation, impact, and independence." The reporters scribbled furiously. "Would you have the composure to face your ex-family's entire city on stage?" Across town, inside the Ryu Citadel, Grandmaster Ryu watched the live broadcast on a wall-mounted screen. Lady Matara stood beside him, knuckles white around her teacup. "She's declaring war," Mina whispered. "No." Grandmaster Ryu's voice was cold. "She's declaring victory." Saiwan entered the room, stopped, stared at the screen. Zola looked radiant, confident, untouchable. Nothing like the woman he'd humiliated. "She's stronger without us," he said quietly. Lady Matara turned on him. "She's dangerous because you gave her a reason to be." He said nothing, because it was true. The press conference continued. Questions flew. Isao fielded technical inquiries. Zola handled personal ones with grace and precision. Then, a journalist from the Bay Observer stood. "Ms. Vance, do you have any message for those who underestimated you?" Zola paused. The room held its breath. She smiled, not cruel, not smug, just certain. Underestimation is a gift. It lets you build in peace. And when you finally reveal what you've built, people realize they were watching the wrong person the entire time. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. Social media exploded. Within an hour, #ZolaVance was trending. News outlets dissected every word. Business analysts predicted her next moves. The Solstice Journal published an editorial titled, "The Rise of Iridia Bay's Quiet Powerhouse." And somewhere in a hidden offshore account, Saskia Moon watched the broadcast from a rented villa, realizing she'd bet against the wrong woman. That evening, Zola returned home to find Nuri awake, babbling in her crib. She lifted her daughter, held her close. "Today, we changed everything," she whispered. "Your mother isn't hiding anymore." Nuri grabbed Zola's necklace, Lenora's necklace, and tugged. Zola smiled. Grandma would be proud. Her phone buzzed. "Alistair, you were magnificent. The entire city is talking." "Good. Let them talk. The Ryu family will retaliate. You know that. Let them try." She hung up, walked to the balcony, Nuri in her arms. Below, Viridia Bay glittered, a city of wealth, shadows, and empires built on secrets. Zola had spent years in the shadows. Now, she stood in the light, and she wasn't going anywhere. They dismissed her. She rose anyway. Subscribe before the next reveal. Zola found the journals 3 days after the press conference. They were hidden in the back of Lenora's closet, wrapped in silk, locked inside a wooden box. The key had been taped beneath her mother's desk drawer, the same drawer that held the first letter. Zola carried the box to her study, hands trembling. She unlocked it. Inside, 12 leather-bound journals spanning 30 years. Each one dated, each one filled with Lenora's precise handwriting. Zola opened the first. June 1995, I survived. The words hit like a fist. She kept reading. June 1995. His name was Marcus Hale. I thought he loved me. I thought we were building a future. Instead, he stole my family's land deed, forged my signature, and sold it to developers. When I confronted him, he laughed. Who's going to believe you? You're nobody. He was right. I had no proof, no power, no voice. So I disappeared, started over, and swore I'd never be powerless again. Zola's chest tightened. Her mother, kind, gentle, soft-spoken Lenora, had been betrayed just like her. She flipped ahead. March 2001. I made my first million today. Marcus will never know. No one will. That's the point. I'm learning patience, strategy, silence. Power isn't loud. It's calculated. October 2010. Zola turns 12 tomorrow. She asked me why I work so much. I wanted to tell her the truth, that I'm building a fortress around her future. That one day, someone will try to break her. And when they do, she'll have everything she needs to fight back. But she's too young. So I smiled and said, because I love you. It's not a lie. It's just incomplete. Tears blurred Zola's vision. Her mother knew. She always knew. April 2022. Zola married Saiwan Ryu today. He seems kind, respectful, but I've met his family. I see the calculation in Grandmaster Ryu's eyes, the disdain in Lady Mitara's posture. They see my daughter as temporary. I pray I'm wrong, but I'm preparing in case I'm right. January 2024. Zola is pregnant. She's radiant, hopeful, in love. I want to protect that innocence. But I know better. I've updated the trust, adjusted the inheritance protocols. If something happens to me, everything activates the moment she needs it most. I've built her a weapon disguised as wealth. I hope she never has to use it. But if she does, God help anyone who underestimated her. Zola closed the journal, sobbing. Her mother didn't just leave her money. She left her a roadmap, a strategy, a legacy forged from betrayal and tempered impatience. Every late night, every cautious decision, every coded lesson, Lenora was preparing her. For this exact war, Zola pressed the journal to her chest. I understand now, Mama. I understand everything. She opened the final journal, dated just weeks before Lenora's death. One sentence on the last page. If you're reading this, then they've already tried to destroy you. Stand up, rise slowly, and remind them who raised you. Zola sat in silence, grief and fury intertwining. Her mother survived betrayal and built an empire. Zola would do the same, but she wouldn't just survive. She'd make sure the people who broke her would spend the rest of their lives regretting it. She kissed the journal, set it aside, and opened her laptop. Time to plan the next move. Have you ever discovered something about someone you loved that completely changed how you saw them? Zola had, and it made her love her mother even more. Some legacies are built in silence. Others are revealed in fire. The invitation arrived in a black envelope, embossed gold lettering. Voxel, expensive cardstock. You are cordially invited to the Obsidian Rotunda Gala, Viridia Bay's annual elite charity benefit. Zola held it up to the light, studying the details. Date, 3 weeks away. Dress code, black tie. Guest list, the most powerful families in Viridia Bay, including the Rias. She sat on her desk, considering. Alistair called minutes later. You received it? Yes. This is the event of the year. Every major syndicate, every business titan, every political figure attends. Media coverage is extensive, and the Ryu family will be there, front and center. Alistair paused. This is the stage, Zola. If you want to make a statement, publicly, irreversibly, this is your moment. She thought of her mother's journals. The 30-year strategy. The careful, patient construction of power. Rise slowly. Let them think you're defeated. Then remind them who raised you. I'll attend, she said. Alone. No. Isao will accompany me. Alistair exhaled relief. Good. I'll prepare the legal documents. If you're going public with Saskia's lies, we need ironclad evidence. We have it. Then we're ready. Hilara arrived that evening with a garment bag. You're not wearing just anything to this gala, she said, unzipping it. Inside, a crimson gown, floor length, elegant, commanding. Zola stared. It's perfect. Your mother would have loved it. They spent the next 2 hours planning. Logistics, timing, talking points, what to reveal, what to hold back. The goal, Hilara said, is controlled devastation. You're not attacking, you're correcting the record. Zola nodded. And if they retaliate, they won't have time. By the time they realize what you've done, the damage will be irreversible. Isao stopped by later, reviewing the gala's attendee list. Half of these people owe the Ryu family money or favors, he said. The other half fear them. You're walking into hostile territory. I know. And you're still going? Absolutely. He grinned. I like your confidence. It's not confidence. It's preparation. She handed him a flash drive. These are the documents. Medical records. Evidence. Timeline. Everything. He studied it. You wanted to leak this. Not leak. Present. At the right moment. Which is when I'm on stage. Isao's eyes widened. You're giving a speech? They're honoring charitable donors. I'm one of them, which means I'll have a microphone, a captive audience, and 5 minutes of uninterrupted airtime. He laughed. You're terrifying. I learned from the best. That night, Zola stood in front of her bathroom mirror, practicing. My name is Zola Vance, and tonight, I want to tell you the truth. Her voice wavered. She tried again, stronger this time. My name is Zola Vance, and the lies stop now. Better. She thought of Simon's face when he handed her divorce papers. Lady Matara's contempt. Grandmaster Ryu's dismissal. Saskia's stage tears. And her mother's words, they will regret underestimating you. Zola smiled at her reflection. 3 weeks, she whispered. 3 weeks until the Ryu family discovered what happened when you tried to erase a woman who'd been armed for war her entire life. Revenge isn't immediate. It's calculated. Subscribe so you don't miss the reckoning. The obsidian rotunda gleamed like a jewel against the night sky. Limousines lined the entrance. Photographers swarmed the red carpet. Flashes erupted like lightning as Viridia Bay's elite stepped from their vehicles. Senators, CEOs, crime lords dressed in tuxedos, their sins hidden behind charity smiles. Zola sat in the back of her car, watching the chaos through tinted windows. Isao adjusted his bow tie beside her. Last chance to back out. Not a chance. Good. He squeezed her hand. because what you're about to do will change everything." The driver opened her door. She stepped out. The cameras went silent for half a second, then exploded. Zola wore the crimson gown Alara had chosen. It hugged her frame perfectly, elegant but commanding. Her hair was swept up, revealing the diamond necklace that had belonged to Lenora. Simple, deadly, unforgettable. She walked the carpet alone first. Then Isao joined her, offering his arm. Reporters shouted questions. "Ms. Vance, over here." "Zola, who are you wearing? Is it true you're launching a foundation?" She smiled, waved, said nothing. Let them wonder. Inside, the rotunda was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. Gold-trimmed tables surrounded a central stage. Champagne flowed. Orchestra music filled the air. And across the room, near the VIP section, stood the Ryu family. Grandmaster Ryu in a tailored black suit, expression carved from stone. Lady Mitara beside him, dripping in emeralds, lips pursed. Mina clutched a champagne flute, scanning the room nervously. And Siwan. He looked hollow, thinner, dark circles beneath his eyes. He wore his tuxedo like armor, but it didn't hide the exhaustion. Their eyes met across the room. Time fractured. Zola saw the funeral, the rain, the divorce papers, the way he walked away without looking back. Siwan saw regret, longing, the desperate wish to undo everything. She looked away first, dismissed him as easily as he dismissed her. Would you confront the person who destroyed you? Or would you let your success do the talking? Isao leaned in. They're watching. Let them. A server appeared with champagne. Zola took a glass, sipped, and moved through the crowd with practiced grace. She greeted business leaders, shook hands with politicians, laughed at appropriate moments. She played the game better than anyone expected, because her mother taught her how. The evening progressed. Dinner was served. Speeches began. The mayor spoke about community impact. Otad Mogol diskust innovation. A hospital director thanked donors. Then the MC stepped forward. And now, we'd like to honor one of our most generous contributors this year. Her recent donation has transformed Lyra Foundation Hospital's maternity wing. Please welcome Zola Vance. Applause rippled through the room. Zola stood, smoothed her gown, and walked toward the stage. Behind her, the Ryu family tensed. Lady Mitara grabbed Siwan's arm. "What is she doing?" "I don't know," he whispered. Grandmaster Ryu's jaw clenched. This was a mistake. We should have stopped her before she got this far. But it was too late. Zola stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand, facing a room full of Iridia Bay's most powerful people. The lights dimmed slightly. A spotlight found her. She looked out at the audience, found the Ryu table, locked eyes with Siwan, then smiled. "Thank you," she began, voice clear, steady. "I'm honored to be here tonight. My mother, Lenora Vance, taught me that wealth without purpose is meaningless. So when I inherited her legacy, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it." Murmurs of approval. But before Zola took a breath. 3 months ago, I stood at my mother's funeral, grieving, 7 months pregnant, vulnerable. The audience leaned forward, and that's when my husband handed me divorce papers. Gasps erupted. Cameras swiveled toward the Ryu table. In front of 200 mourners at the graveside, he chose to humiliate me. Why? Because another woman claimed to be carrying his child. Zola paused, letting the words sink in. But here's what I discovered. She nodded to Isao. He pressed a button. The screens behind her flickered to life. Medical records, dates, timestamps. Saskia Moon's name in bold letters. Diagnosis non pregnant. Confirmed. The room exploded. The silence that followed was deafening. Every eye in the obsidian rotunda fixed on the screens. Saskia Moon's medical records projected in stark, undeniable detail. Patient name, date, hospital seal, doctor's signature, negative pregnancy test. Not pregnant. Zola let the evidence breathe. Then continued. This woman, Saskia Moon, lied. She fabricated a pregnancy to manipulate my husband into divorcing me, and his family believed her, encouraged him, pressured him to choose duty over truth. She turned toward the Ryu table. Grandmaster Ryu sat frozen, face unreadable. Lady Mitara's champagne flute trembled in her hand. Mina looked like she wanted to disappear. And Cywin looked destroyed. I want to be clear, Zola said, voice cutting through the shocked murmurs. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for truth. Another document appeared on screen. A timeline. Text messages between Saskia and Lady Mitara. Proof of coordination. Evidence of manipulation. The crowd erupted into whispers. Reporters in the back scrambled to take notes. Cameras flashed relentlessly. My mother spent 30 years building an empire in silence, Zola continued. She survived betrayal, rebuilt from nothing, and taught me that power isn't about volume. It's about patience. She paused, eyes scanning the room. So when I was humiliated at my mother's funeral, I didn't collapse. I prepared. I discovered the truth. And I waited for the right moment to share it. The screens shifted again. This time, photographs. Saskia entering the Ryu Citadel. Lady Mitara handing her an envelope. Dates and times stamped clearly. This wasn't accidental. It was orchestrated. A calculated effort to remove me from a family that saw me as disposable. Would you stay silent if your truth could shatter someone's carefully built lies? The Ryu table was chaos now. Grandmaster Ryu whispered urgently to Lady Mitara. Mina stood abruptly, trying to leave, but reporters blocked her path. Cywin sat paralyzed, staring at Zola like she was a stranger. Maybe she was. The woman he married would have stayed quiet, accepted the humiliation, disappeared. But that woman died at the Cypress Crypt. Zola turned back to the audience. I'm sharing this not to destroy anyone, though they certainly tried to destroy me. I'm sharing this because women deserve better, because truth matters, because the next person they underestimate might not have the resources I was fortunate enough to inherit. Applause began, tentative at first, then louder, stronger. People stood. First one, then 10, then 50. A standing ovation. For truth. For courage. For a woman who refused to be erased. Zola's eyes welled with tears, but she held them back. She wouldn't cry. Not here. Not now. My mother left me more than money, she said softly. She left me a lesson. That the people who try to break you are simply revealing their own fragility. The applause intensified. So tonight, I'm announcing the official launch of the Vance Legacy Foundation. We'll support women escaping toxic relationships, fund legal resources for those who can't afford them, and create pathways for financial independence. The screens changed one final time. The foundation logo. Clean. Elegant, powerful, because if my mother's legacy taught me anything, it's that survival isn't enough. You have to rise. You have to build. You have to make sure the next person has it easier than you did. The room erupted. Zola set down the microphone and walked off stage. Reporters swarmed. Questions flew. Cameras chased her. But Isao was there, guiding her through the chaos toward the exit. Behind them, the Ryu table sat in ruins. Grandmaster Ryu's face was carved from fury and disbelief. Lady Matara had fled to the restroom. Mina was cornered by journalists demanding comment. And Saiwan? Saiwan pushed through the crowd, trying to reach Zola. Zola! Wait! Please! She stopped, turned. They stood 5 feet apart, the distance between them infinite. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. You didn't ask. Her voice was calm, cold, final. You chose to believe her over me. You chose to humiliate me at my lowest. And now you want forgiveness. I was manipulated. So was I. But I didn't betray you. She turned away. Zola, please. She's my daughter too. No. Zola's voice cut like glass. She's a Vance. And you lost the right to claim her the moment you handed me those papers. She walked away. Saiwan stood alone in the center of the gala, surrounded by whispers, judgment, and the ruins of his family's reputation. And Zola? Zola stepped into the night air, breathed deeply, and felt lighter than she had in months. Because the truth was finally free. And so was she. The fallout was immediate. By morning, every major news outlet in Viridia Bay ran the story. Headlines screamed across front pages. Ryu Syndicate exposed. Lies, manipulation, and a betrayed heiress. Zola Vance's gala bombshell rocks elite society. The fall of the Ryu dynasty. Social media erupted. Hashtag Zola Vance trended globally. Hashtag Ryu Exposed followed close behind. Videos of her speech circulated endlessly. Think pieces flooded blogs. Legal analysts debated the implications. The Solstice Journal published a devastating editorial. When power meets truth, how one woman dismantled a legacy built on lies. And inside the Ryu citadel, the empire began to fracture. Grandmaster Ryu sat in his office, phone ringing incessantly. Business partners demanding explanations. Political allies distancing themselves. Investors pulling funding. 30 years of carefully built influence. Unraveling in 72 hours. Lady Matara locked herself in her suite, refusing visitors. The photographs of her meeting Saskia had destroyed her reputation in elite circles. The women who once sought her approval now whispered behind her back. Mina fled to their Monaco estate, unable to face the social humiliation. Her carefully curated image, shattered by association. And Saiwan? Saiwan sat alone in his bedroom, scrolling through news articles, each one a knife to his chest. Comment sections were brutal. He divorced his pregnant wife at her mother's funeral. Disgusting. The Ryu family is finished. Good riddance. Zola Vance is a queen. That speech was legendary. He wanted to defend himself, to explain he'd been manipulated. But how could he? The evidence was damning. And his own actions, indefensible. A knock at his door. He ignored it. It opened anyway. Grandmaster Ryu stepped inside, face haggard, eyes cold. You destroyed us, he said flatly. Saiwan looked up. I destroyed us? You pressured me. I gave you an order. You obeyed. That's what we do. Grandmaster Ryu's voice was ice. But you chose the wrong woman to betray. And now we're paying for your incompetence. She wasn't wrong. She was right. About everything. His grandfather stared at him, contempt radiating. Sentiment is weakness. I taught you that. Maybe weakness is what makes us human. Grandmaster Ryu turned away. You're no longer part of succession planning. Consider yourself demoted. He left. Saiwan sat in silence, the weight of his choices crushing him. He pulled out his phone, typed a message to Zola. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but please let me be part of Nuri's life. I'll do whatever it takes. He stared at it for 5 minutes, then deleted it, because he knew the truth. Some betrayals couldn't be undone. Some doors once closed stayed locked forever. Across town, Zola sat in her study, reviewing partnership offers that had flooded in since the gala. Tech companies wanted collaborations. Nonprofits sought endorsements. Media outlets requested exclusive interviews. Her phone buzzed. Alistair, you've become the most talked about woman in the country. Possibly the continent. Is that good or dangerous? Both. But the legal protections are solid. The Ryu family can't touch you. What about Nuri? Full custody. Ironclad. Sywin has no legal standing after what we've documented. Relief washed over her. Good. She hung up, walked to the nursery. Nuri slept peacefully, tiny fist curled near her face. Zola watched her daughter, heart swelling with fierce, protective love. Your father's family tried to erase us, she whispered. But we're still here. Stronger. Safer. Free. She kissed Nuri's forehead. Outside, Viridia bay-hummed with gossip, scandal, and the slow, inevitable collapse of a dynasty that forgot the most important rule. Never underestimate the woman you betray, because she might be the one holding the match that burns your empire to ash. The letter arrived 3 days after the gala. Handwritten, not typed, not delivered by courier or lawyer. Sywin had written it himself and left it at her gate. Zola found it in the morning, sealed in a plain white envelope with her name written in his distinctive script. She almost threw it away, but curiosity won. She opened it. Zola, I know I have no right to ask for your time, your forgiveness, or even your acknowledgement. What I did was unforgivable. I understand that now. I was raised in a world where duty came before everything, before love, before truth, before my own conscience. My family taught me that emotion was weakness, that control was strength, that people were tools to be used in service of legacy. I believed them, and in believing them, I destroyed the only real thing I ever had. You. I watched your speech at the gala. I saw the strength in your eyes, the certainty, the power, and I realized something that broke me completely. You were always stronger than me. I just never saw it because I was too arrogant to look. My family is crumbling. Grandmaster Ryu has disowned me from succession. Lady Matara won't speak to me. Business partners are severing ties. The empire we built on secrets and manipulation is collapsing under the weight of truth. Your truth. I don't expect you to care. You shouldn't. You warned me once that choices have consequences. I didn't listen, but I need you to know something. Nuri, I think about her every day. I wonder what she looks like. If she has your eyes or my stubborn chin. If she's calm or fierce. If she'll grow up knowing I exist. I'm not asking for custody. I'm not asking to be her father in any meaningful way. I know I lost that right. But if there's ever a moment, years from now, maybe when she asks about me, please tell her this. Her father loved her mother. Truly, deeply, and he destroyed that love through cowardice and stupidity. Tell her I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to protect what mattered. Tell her I hope she inherits your courage, not my weakness. I'll respect whatever boundaries you set. I won't contact you again unless you permit it. I won't fight you legally. I won't cause you any more pain. You've already endured enough because of me. I just needed you to know that losing you, losing her, is the greatest regret of my life. And I'll carry that regret until the day I die. Sywin. Zola read it twice, then a third time. Her hands trembled, not from sadness, not from longing, from anger. He wanted absolution. He wanted her to soften, to see his pain and erase her own. But pain didn't work that way. She walked to the fireplace, struck a match, and held the letter over the flames. Then stopped. She thought of Nuri, of the day her daughter might ask questions, of the truth she'd need to hear. Zola folded the letter carefully and placed it in a locked drawer. Not for Siwan, for Nuri. So one day, she could decide for herself what kind of man her father was. She pulled out her phone and sent a single message to Alistair. Draft a response through legal channels. He can write letters to Nuri, to be held in trust until she turns 18. No direct contact with me. Ever. Alistair replied immediately. Done. Boundaries established. Zola set down her phone and stared at the fireplace. She didn't forgive Siwan. She didn't hate him either. She simply moved forward, because forgiveness was a gift, and some people didn't earn it. Would you give someone a second chance if their apology came too late? Regret doesn't undo damage. Truth doesn't guarantee redemption. 6 months later, the Vance Legacy Foundation headquarters sat in the heart of Iridia Bay's cultural district. Glass walls, modern architecture, open spaces designed to feel welcoming rather than intimidating. Inside, women gathered for the official launch event. Survivors of domestic violence. Single mothers rebuilding their lives. Entrepreneurs who've been dismissed by traditional investors. Legal advocates fighting for justice. They were here because Zola had built something that didn't just help. It transformed. The foundation offered 3 core services: legal representation for women escaping dangerous relationships, financial literacy programs for those rebuilding independence, and seed funding for women-led startups. Everything Zola wished had existed when she needed it most. She stood backstage, adjusting her blazer, watching the crowd through a gap in the curtain. Isao appeared beside her. Nervous? Always. He smiled. You know, when we first met, I thought you were just another heiress looking for purpose. And now I think you're the most formidable person I've ever met. She glanced at him. Over the past months, their partnership had deepened. Late-night strategy sessions, shared victories, quiet moments where words weren't necessary. He'd never pushed, never demanded more than she could give. But something had shifted between them. Something patient and careful and real. Not yet, but maybe someday. BMC called her name. Zola stepped onto the stage. The room erupted in applause. She approached the podium, looked out at the faces, women who'd survived, rebuilt, refused to be broken. Thank you for being here, she began. 6 months ago, I stood on a different stage and told a truth that changed my life. Today, I want to build something that changes yours. She gestured to the screens behind her. Statistics appeared. Domestic violence rates, financial abuse patterns, legal barriers women faced. These numbers represent real people, real pain, real obstacles. And the system wasn't designed to help them. It was designed to keep them trapped. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The Vance Legacy Foundation exists to dismantle those traps, to provide resources, legal protection, and financial pathways, to make sure the next woman who needs help doesn't have to wait for an inheritance to access it. Applause built. My mother taught me that power should be quiet. But I've learned something else. Power should also be shared. What good is wealth if it only protects one person? She paused, scanning the room. So today, I'm committing $50 million to this foundation. For legal services, for shelter networks, for educational programs, for startup capital, for every woman who's been told she's not enough. The room stood. Applause shook the walls. Zola continued, voice steady. And I'm inviting every person in this room, survivor, advocate, ally, to join me. Because foundations aren't built by one person. They're built by communities who refuse to stay silent. Isao stepped onto the stage beside her, holding a ceremonial ribbon. Together, they cut it. The Vance Legacy Foundation was officially open. Afterward, women approached Zola, thanked her, shared their stories, asked questions. One woman, mid-30s, nervous eyes, grabbed her hand. "You gave me hope," she whispered. "When I saw your speech, I realized I didn't have to stay. So I left. And now I'm here, building something new." Zola's eyes welled with tears. "You gave yourself hope. I just provided a reminder." The woman hugged her, and Zola understood, finally, what her mother had been building all along. Not just wealth, legacy. Later that evening, Zola sat in the foundation's office with Isao, reviewing applications for legal aid. Nuri played nearby, now 1 year old, babbling happily with her toys. Isao watched her. "She's beautiful. She's everything." He hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "Are you happy?" Zola considered this. 6 months ago, happiness felt impossible. Now, I'm building toward it. He nodded. "That's enough." She smiled. For now, the Ryu Citadel sat empty most days now. Grandmaster Ryu had stepped down from active leadership, forced into early retirement by board members who no longer trusted the family name. The scandal had cost them too much: business contracts, political alliances, international partnerships. The dynasty that once controlled Viridia Bay now struggled to maintain relevance. Lady Matara had retreated to their countryside estate, rarely seen in public. The women's social circles she once dominated now whispered about her behind closed doors. Invitations stopped arriving. Charity boards quietly removed her name. Mina Ryu remained in Monaco, rebuilding her reputation far from the wreckage. She'd changed her last name, distanced herself from the family, started over. Smart, Zola thought when she heard. At least one of them learned. And Sywin? Sywin had disappeared from public life entirely. He'd taken a position at a small consulting firm. Nothing prestigious, nothing tied to the Ryu name. He lived in a modest apartment on the edge of the city. No driver, no security, no empire, just consequences. Zola heard updates occasionally through Alistair, who kept tabs on legal matters involving Nuri. Sywin sent letters to the trust account every month. Letters Nuri would read when she turned 18. He never missed one. That was something, at least. One afternoon, Zola received a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hello, Ms. Vance. This is Grandmaster Ryu." Her breath caught. She hadn't heard his voice since the gala. "What do you want?" "To apologize." Silence stretched between them. "I underestimated you," he continued, voice rough. "I treated you as disposable. I pressured my grandson into a decision that destroyed both your lives. And I'm calling to acknowledge that." Zola said nothing. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But you should know, what you build is more impressive than anything my family accomplished in 3 generations. Is that all?" "No." He paused. "Nuri, she's a Ryu by blood. One day, she may want to know that side of her heritage. If that day comes, I'll make sure she hears the truth about what we did, about why we lost her." "Good. That's all. I won't contact you again." He hung up. Zola set down her phone, staring at it. An apology from Grandmaster Ryu. She never thought she'd hear it, but it changed nothing. Apologies didn't undo damage. They just acknowledged it. Later that week, Saskia Moon resurfaced briefly online. A public apology video. Scripted, carefully edited. She confessed to lying about the pregnancy. Apologized to Zola. Took responsibility for her actions. Comments were mixed. Some forgave her, others didn't. Zola watched it once, then closed the tab. She didn't need Saskia's apology either, because the Ryu family's downfall wasn't her victory. Her victory was what she built after they tried to destroy her. The foundation, the partnerships, the life she'd created for Nuri. That was revenge, not destruction. Kurishi-shun. She walked to the nursery, where Nuri stood in her crib, grinning. Mama. Zola lifted her daughter, spun her around. We did it, baby girl. We survived. We built. We won. Nuri giggled, grabbing Zola's necklace, Lenora's necklace. And Zola whispered the words her mother once told her. Power is quiet. Wealth is quieter. But legacy? Legacy is forever. Some empires fall. Others rise from their ashes. Comment below. Would you forgive them? 2 years later, Zola stood on the balcony of her Zenith Plateau mansion, watching the sun set over Viridia Bay. The city glittered below, lights flickering to life as darkness settled. Somewhere down there, people were building empires. Others were losing them. Life continued its endless cycle of rise and fall. But up here, Zola had found something she never thought possible. Peace. Behind her, Nuri ran through the garden, chasing butterflies, her laughter ringing like music. She was 3 now, bright, curious, fearless. She had Zola's eyes and Lenora's sharp intuition. She asked questions constantly. Why is the sky blue? Where do stars go in the morning? What's that building called? And Zola answered everyone, because curiosity was power, and her daughter would inherit both. Isao appeared on the balcony, holding 2 glasses of wine. He handed her one. She's going to run you into the ground. I'm counting on it. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Nuri play. Over the past 2 years, Isao had become more than a business partner, more than a friend. He'd been patient, kind, present, never pushing, never demanding, just there. Last month, he'd kissed her for the first time. Gentle, careful, asking permission with every movement. She kissed him back. It wasn't the passionate, desperate love she'd felt for Saiwan. This was different, quieter, steadier, built on trust and mutual respect. Maybe that's what real love looked like. Not fireworks. Foundation. I have something for you, Isao said, pulling an envelope from his pocket. Zola opened it. Inside, a property deed. What is this? The old Kimura estate in New Orleans. My family's legacy property. I'm signing half of it over to the Vance Foundation for a women's retreat center. Her breath caught. Isao, this is yours, because what you're building matters more than what I inherited. She kissed him, deeply, gratefully. When they pulled apart, he smiled. So, is that a yes? It's a thank you. Good enough. Nuri ran over, tugging on Zola's dress. Mama. Story time. Zola lifted her daughter. What story do you want tonight? Tell me about Grandma. Zola carried her inside, settled into the reading chair. Nuri curled in her lap. Your grandmother was the smartest woman I ever knew, she began. She taught me that power isn't about being loud. It's about being prepared. What's power? It's the ability to protect the people you love and to build things that last. Like the foundation, exactly like that. Nuri yawned, eyes drooping. Will I be powerful like you and Grandma? Zola kissed her forehead. You already are, baby. You just don't know it yet. Within minutes, Nuri was asleep. Zola carried her to bed, tucked her in, and stood watching her daughter breathe. This was victory, not the gala speech, not the Ryu family's collapse, not the headlines or the money or the public vindication. This, a child sleeping peacefully, a foundation helping hundreds of women, a life built on truth instead of lies. She walked back to the balcony where Isao waited. He pulled her close. What are you thinking about? Everything my mother built. Everything I'm building. Everything Nuri will build. Sound exhausting? She laughed. It is, but it's worth it. He kissed the top of her head. You know what your mother would say if she could see you now? What? I told you so. Zola smiled. Because he was right. Lenora had known, had prepared, had believed, and Zola had risen. Not despite the betrayal. Because of it. She looked out at Viridia Bay, the city that tried to erase her, the empire she built in response. And she whispered into the night. This is just the beginning. The end. Betrayal broke her. Truth rebuilt her. Legacy defined her. What will you build from your pain?